Hey, how's it going, fight fans? Welcome to mindforcombat. If you're new to the channel, my name's Rohan, and to my platform where I do fight sports related content. If you're new here, why don't you help me grow my platform? All you have to do is subscribe to the channel, like the video if you like it, and maybe hit that bell icon to get notified every time I upload a video. With that said, in this video I'll be breaking down the upcoming featherweight main event between top contenders, the Korean Zombie Chan Sung-jung and Brian Ortega, as he makes his return to the cage for the first time since his fight with Max Holloway. And that was in 2018, so wow, it's been a long time and I cannot wait to see him back. I'm a huge fan of both these guys, and this is a really important fight for Ortega. It's his opportunity to win this fight and get himself right back into the title picture. Of course, Max has lost a belt. He's no longer the champion. He's actually got 2 losses to the current champion, who is Alexander Volkanovski. And Brian Ortega is a really credible talent that's got a lot of, hype and momentum around him, although a lot of that might have gone now that he's been away for so long. But I'm certainly looking forward to his comeback, and he fights the staple, the veteran in the Korean Zombie, Chan Sung-jung, who's been around for a long time. He's been a fan favorite for a long time. He's been putting on wars and clinics in a lot of ways for a long time, and he remains relevant till this day and age. And when you consider the longevity that he's had, maybe his 2-3 years military service that he had to do actually played out to that longevity, and it's great to have this fight, and I cannot wait. Hopefully no more problems, hopefully nothing comes up in the time between recording this video and the fight happening. This one that I'm really looking forward to, and let's break this one down. So the Korean Zombie Chan Sung-jung is actually getting on in age a little bit. He's now 33 years old. That's not old necessarily, but at featherweight, you do have to start to question if he's going to start to slow down. We've seen him being brutally KO'd now. We've seen him get stopped previously. And you've got to wonder when it's going to start to catch up with him, being the zombie, because you can take so much beatings. Well, that means you've been having to take beatings to show people that you are the zombie. That will start to impact you and will start to impact your game. So I do wonder if that's going to start to catch up with Chan Sung-jung. And he fights Brian Ortega, who's still only 29 years old. And of course, he took a horrific beating against Max Holloway, but he's had a long time off since then, and he hasn't had that many rough nights. Other than that, that was his first ever actual professional loss. So this is a big opportunity for both of these guys, and I think age-wise, this is a interesting fight. I think it does bear witness in how the Korean Zombie looks in this, but I don't think it should impact him at all, to be honest. At 33, he's still a young man. I'm about to be 30 soon, so maybe I want to make it sound a little younger than that, huh? Korean Zombie is 16-5, so he's had 21 professional fights, and he'll be fighting Brian Ortega, who has a professional record of 14 wins and 1 loss. So both of these guys are relatively experienced. They've both been in the UFC for a while. They've both been main eventers, so experience shouldn't play a factor in this, really. The Korean Zombie stands at 5'9", which makes him an inch taller than Brian Ortega, but what he really enjoys is a reach advantage, which is 3 inches. He's got a 72-inch reach over Brian Ortega's 69-inch reach, and being the fact that I think the Korean Zombie's probably got a bit better boxing than Brian Ortega, I think that's something that he will probably be able to utilize to his advantage. It should be interesting. To describe their styles, the Korean Zombie is, of course, he's historically been a brawler. He's got big power in his hands. He likes to lead with his chin. That's kind of started to tidy up over recent years, which I'm actually pretty happy about. And he's actually got really underrated ground game. Of course, he's got the twister finish in the UFC. He's had some good submissions. Carries big power in his hands. And he's pretty unpredictable, but he's kind of all-rounded, I would say, the Korean Zombie. With Brian Ortega, what stands out for him is his Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu skills. He's super dangerous off his back and his guard. But he's got good boxing as well. He knocked out Frankie Edgar, first person ever to stop Frankie Edgar. They've actually both knocked out Frankie Edgar, but he's got good boxing as well. He's got good kicks and he's got good knees and elbows. But I think where he stands out is in his B-Day game, particularly his guard game. Some of the key wins. So like I mentioned, they've both beaten Frankie Edgar. Korean Zombie specifically has beaten the likes of Renato Moicano. He's beaten Dennis Bermudez, which is a good win, and of course he beat Dustin Poirier back in the days in an absolutely insane fight. So if you ain't seen that, go back and watch that. And then for Brian Ortega, he's got quite a few good wins as well. Frank Edgar, as I said, he's beaten Renato Moicano himself. He's beaten Cub Swanson as well. These are all good wins. And then he's beaten earlier in his career guys like Diego Brandao, Clay Guida, all great fighters, great wins. He's got a great resume as this young man. The issues for the Korean Zombie is he's wild. He can leave himself open and get knocked out even when he doesn't need to be. Think back to the Yair Rodriguez fight. He was about maybe 5 or 6 seconds away from winning that fight, and then he gets himself knocked out, which is just bitter to me. And then the issues for Brian Ortega is going to be that he's a slow starter. He tends to take a lot of damage before he wakes up and comes in back into the fight. And most of the fights that he wins and gets stoppages in, he tends to be behind on the scorecard before he gets the win, which he really doesn't want to be doing here. The X factor for the Korean Zombie is going to be his punching power. Brian Ortega is hittable, and Korean Zombie carries power, particularly considering how long that Brian Ortega hasn't been in the fight, and the fact that Brian Ortega is going to be coming into this fight rusty. That's going to be another X factor for the Korean Zombie. X factor for Brian Ortega for me is obviously his BJJ. I think he can snatch a submission out of the jaws of defeat at any time. He's very dangerous. It's going to be interesting to see this fight play out. Let's get into the prediction. So, on the feet, I think the Korean Zombie enjoys that advantage. But I think where he enjoys the biggest advantage is that he's a fast starter, in that he's going to come out and engage straight away. And Brian Ortega has never been a fast starter. He's always been a slow starter. I think kind of like Donald Cerrone. And he's always tends to get behind on the scorecards in fights before he wins. That is a problem for him when he looks to fight someone like the Korean Zombie. The Korean Zombie will start outboxing him early, in my opinion, start landing big shots. And it's hard to recover from that when you haven't been used to being hit in so long and you've been off for as long as Brian Ortega has. I think he'll start to feel the impacts of the Korean Zombie's punching power, and when he starts to get into the fight, starts waking up and starts going about it a bit more, I think what he's going to find is that the Korean Zombie is just going to be able to outwork him, outbox him, outmaneuver him, and be able to get the finish. So in my opinion, I'm going to see Korean Zombie winning this fight early. Brian Ortega tries to rally, but he's not able to do enough, and I think towards the end of the fight, Brian Ortega is actually going to get stopped by Korean Zombie after absorbing far too many powerful shots. That will set up the Korean Zombie nicely for a title shot with Alexander Volkanovski, which is a great fight, and I think that's a very winnable fight for the Korean Zombie. So for my official prediction, I'm going with the Korean Zombie, and then next, hopefully we see the Zombie versus Volkanovski. I want to see that more than Volkanovski versus Zabit or whoever wins that fight. So this is a really, really fun fight for me, and I really can't wait. Fight fans, I would love to know your predictions. So remember to comment below. Let me know how you see it going. And let me know if you enjoyed the breakdown. If you're new to the channel, remember to like, subscribe, share, all that jazz. Thank you for watching, guys. I'm Rohan, and this is Mind for Combat.